Okay, this is Stu. We're having a back in the day with Chris Tran, and we're sitting in Bin Hoa.
Yes.
In Saigon. Chris left Saigon on
April 1975, the last day of the war.
the last day of the war.
30th April.
And how did you actually leave?
I was in the service for 4 years.
Yep.
And then I came back home the 26th of April, in Saigon, my house. It used to be.
Yep.
Then the 30th of April, my brother and I, we went with the owner of the company where my father worked for. He owns a company with a bunch of ships that transport oil and rice to other countries.
Okay.
So that's how we left. We left with him from Saigon.
So on like a cargo ship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And was that something that you kind of had to do in secret to be able to?
Not
to
that
get out,
day.
or?
That day, just everyone, is on their own. Some people just went on to Saigon River and tried to, escape the country.
Yeah.
Like when I went, we didn't. My brother and I, we didn't even know where we were heading to.
Okay.
We ended up in Philippines, Subic Bay. But that was like quite a trip.
So you were serving. You served for 4 years with the South Vietnamese.
South
Army.
Vietnamese in the as a ranger.
Okay.
The unit, yeah.
And that's like an elite force, is it? The Rangers?
Kind of.
Okay.
But most of the 4 years, I just lived in the jungle.
Okay.
I haven't, never seen the city or the population. Nobody.
So did you work alongside Americans and Australians? The other.
No. When I went in the service back in beginning of 1971, almost the American people almost went back home.
Okay.
So we kind of just took over the places that they were stationed at.
Okay.
Near the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and that's where I was in the Region 2, Pleiku, Kon Tum, which is those cities.
Okay. And was there a lot of tension amongst the Vietnamese people with regards to whether or not you sort of had support for the Americans or you had support for the Viet Cong?
Well, at the time we were, we were, number one, we had to be in the service.
Yep.
We had no choice.
So it was compulsory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either you join the service, the army, or you go in jail. So
Okay.
that's the two choices that you had.
Okay.
And so, like with us, soldier, we didn't really care too much about the politics and the support the American or not, because we hardly heard of the news,
Yeah.
in the jungle. So we just kind of living by day,
Okay.
not knowing what our future is going to be. So if you can open your eyes the next morning, that's another day you survive.
Okay.
And that's how it was.
Okay.
That's really, really, I would say bad, but strange.
Yeah. Like, did you find yourself in any positions where you had close calls? Like, whoa, lucky to have survived that.
Oh yeah. Just before the end of the war, right? Which like the end of March '75, we were stationed at Quang Duc, which is the city now. They changed it to Dak Lak,
Okay.
the name of the city. And then we got the order, leave the city, and move closer to Saigon.
Okay.
So we left. We went in the woods, right? So with us was just 4 days of dry food, supply.
Yep.
And then the map was just in that area where we're gonna go
Okay.
to. And then by the time we get close to Blau, which is Bảo Lộc in Vietnamese,
Yep.
we heard on the radio that it was taken over by the communists.
Okay.
And so we didn't know where else to go. So we were just kind of walking around in the woods, in the jungle. So like we had four days of supply.
Okay.
And so, we walked in the woods for 18 days and up. So we ate leaves
Wow.
for 11 days to
Okay.
survive. So that was quite quite a trip that I remember the rest of my life. You know?
I guess there was no shortage. Like the other week, I was walking around and I was carrying a bottle of water. I drank it. Within probably a couple of hours, I was so close to heat exhaustion. I thought to myself, "Wow, how would those soldiers? It must have been such a burden having to carry so much water." But I guess the rain sort of constantly supplied you with water, so that was never a problem. Was that ever a problem?
Yeah, there was, you know, because Vietnam has 2 seasons, the dry season and the wet season.
Yep.
And March, April is still the dry season.
Okay.
Rain doesn't start yet. And so while on our way, you know, if you see the pot of water, even if the dead rat in there, you still have to scoop it out, drop in a pill, and then drink it.
Okay.
You know.
Wow.
So that's how it was.
Wow. So I mean, I first discovered Chris on YouTube. Chris has got a YouTube channel, Chris Tran. Check it out. He cleans up old recordings of Vietnamese music, rock and well. What I found was a title called Vietnamese Rock and Soul 68 to 72.
70s era.
Yeah. Particularly, we've been discussing a band that was the number 1 track on the... is it a compilation? Is it an album? Is that an album that was available on vinyl back then?
No.
Okay, so the picture that you put up, what is that picture from?
Which is from the person who collects those songs and put it together.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just on one of the albums back then.
Ah, okay.
One of the singers. Yeah.
So is that the singer of the first band? The first track is the CBC band. Mm-hmm. Is that the singer of the CBC band?
No.
Okay.
But she was well known also.
Okay. And what was her name?
Thai Hieu, I believe.
Thai Hieu. Okay. Yeah. Wow. All right. What inspired you to do that? Like to put?
Because I grew up with that kind of music. Okay. You know, 15, 16 years old. You know, I already, you know, listen to those songs, those bands.
Yep.
And then I end up, you know, running away from home and live with CBC for like a few months until my parents found me and took me home. I was quite
You're a bit of a wild child.
Yeah. So, and at the time, the CBC band was playing in Long Binh, which is all the American clubs, you know.
Okay.
So that's how I met them, and I lived with them for a few months.
Okay, and so did you kind of help them out? Like, say if they were playing, were you what we call a roadie sort of thing? Like, did you help them move their stuff?
I was, you know, with them just to join them just to learn how to play, right?
Okay.
And then so I just carried the equipment, you know. That's it. Yeah.
So when you were in the service, did you get opportunities to go and see them play, like when they were playing for the Americans? Or
no.
Okay.
After I joined the service, like I said, most of them, I got to visit my family 3 times.
Okay.
During those 4 years. So what I heard was from tape that, you know, my family sent it to me, you know, and that's it, how they play. So that's why, like, in 1971, there's a really great concert at the Soccer Stadium, Walu. It's just like, you know, Woodstock of Vietnam.
Okay.
You must have heard of that.
Like I've heard of Woodstock?
Woodstock, but also the one in Vietnam.
I saw the one that they did at the zoo. There was like some festival a rock festival.
Yeah, near the zoo. The soccer stadium is near the zoo.
Oh, okay. So we're probably talking about.
It was like more than 100 bands playing. And I missed that too because I wasn't able to, you know.
You were in the jungle somewhere.
Oh yes.
Wow. So back in those like war days, did you guys in the South Vietnamese army kind of do it much harder than the Yanks and the Australians? Like obviously the Yanks and the Aussies, they were getting R&R leaves in various places every now and then.
Really.
But you guys...
Oh, yeah, much worse.
Yeah,
you know, we didn't have enough food to eat and not enough bullets to fight.
Yeah,
you know, like when the end of the war, when we left Quang Duc, you know, we had with us was 60 bullets. So with using M16, you know, you press the trigger, that's it. 30 bullets is gone.
Yeah.
And then 2 grenades, that's all we had.
Okay.
How could you fight a war like that?
And the North Vietnamese were heavily armed, or were they sort of suffering in the same way of shortages of food and shortages of ammunition?
Tell you the truth, I don't know.
Okay.
You know, maybe, you know, the upper rank, you know, they know about it, but we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we were just in the situations where if you don't shoot them, they'll shoot you.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of, you know, we don't really care, you know. But most of the time, you know, we don't see anybody in the jungle. You know?
Okay.
We just stationed at one place near the Ho Chi Minh Trail, just to guard, I don't know, guard what, you know. Monkeys, maybe. So we really couldn't understand. You know, at the time we were so young. I was so young to get into politics, and we just knew that we had to go. Not
you didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
well.
that is kind of, you know, no goal in sight. You know.
So, like, you didn't really have any contact with any of your people that you were fighting. Not against, but with. Like, you didn't see the Yanks, you didn't see the Aussies in the jungle. Did they help you out at all?
By 71, you know, most of the American people already came back home. Back to their country. Okay. So you know, so the Vietnamese army took over, you know, everything. So at the time we just rely on the supplies from the American.
Okay. So in the years gone by, have you met and become friends with anybody who you fought against?
Not really.
Okay.
You know, I met people that, you know, from the north, you know, and we make friends. I myself don't even know if they were my enemy, if we fought against each other or not. You know,
okay.
And they could be fighting, you know, in a different area.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, essentially, you have associates that were technically in the past your enemy.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Last time we took a trip together.
Oh wow.
You know, a long trip to 6 days, and there's one guy. Now he was with the North then.
Okay.
You know, he came from the North. He lived here now, but then we talk about, you know, the old days. But yeah, it's so long now. There's no more, you know, hate against, you know, us. You know, just kind of, you know, we talk like normal, like friends.
Yeah, look, I mean, when I first came to Vietnam, I to a degree expected to feel like some Vietnamese people might resent me because I was Australian, but I haven't experienced anything other than the complete opposite of that. People find out that you're Australian and they love it.
You know, like
almost everybody I've met has got a relative in Australia somewhere.
Yeah, us Vietnamese, you know, people, we're pretty open, you know.
Yeah.
You know, if unless, you know, you try to get a fight against me,
yeah.
You know, you're a friend.
Yeah.
Until something happens, right? Yeah. So we assume everyone is friends.
Yeah.
You know? Until you give me a reason to fight you, then that's different. We fight to the death.
Yeah, right. Oh god. Yeah, look. I mean, I've got to say, I could imagine being in an argument with somebody Vietnamese, and I think it would be very intimidating.
Just like when you first contact me, right? Already, I said, well, I don't care if you interview me or not. I make a friend. That's good.
Yeah.
You know, I make a new friend, and that's what I told you, right?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. No, look.
So to me, that's more important than, you know, anything else. Pretty much. Have a new friend, sitting together, having a coffee. Hey, man, life is great, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
So after you left Saigon and you were on the cargo ship and you went to the Philippines, you ended up in
Subic Bay. Philippines, yeah.
Okay, and how long did it take you to then, like, obviously you put in a refugee claim or an asylum claim to go to America?
No, at the time, right, the American people already have a few refugee camps around, and one of it is in Subic Bay, Philippines.
Okay.
That's at the military station. You know, the American GI was there.
Yep.
So they already have a camp set up, and so we went in there, and at the time, in 75, everyone that escaped the country that got onto the American refugee camp get to go to the United States.
Okay.
So by July 75, they flew me to Pennsylvania, Indian Town Gap, and I stayed until I got some family sponsored me.
Okay, and that must have been a strange feeling stepping off that plane.
Oh yes, Well, from Pacific Bay, right? After a month or so, month and a half, they flew us to Guam.
Okay.
And Guam belonged to the American,
Yep.
right? And then we stayed into July of '75, and it was strange, but I was lucky. I went to a French school from kindergarten all the way up to finishing high school.
A French school?
A French school in Vietnam.
Yeah, okay,
in
yeah. Yep.
District 1. It used to call Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Now it's a Vietnamese name, Lake Guido,
Okay.
near the near I don't know what to call it now. The I just couldn't think of the term, but anyway, and then so when I was in Pennsylvania in the camp, a lot of students, American students, they volunteer to come in the camp and help us understand the culture, the language and everything. So one of the students gave me, she heard that I knew French. So she gave me a dictionary, French, English and French.
Okay.
And in '75, back then, they didn't have Vietnamese English dictionary in the States.
Okay.
So that's how I learned the English. If I want to say something, right, I flip up the book and then translate it. Good thing. It's pretty much they spell almost the same, just the pronunciation.
So the process of learning English for you, was it a process of did you need to translate that into French and then in your mind translate it into Vietnamese, or when it was translated into French you could just understand it? Because I'm not multilingual. I can only really speak English, so I don't really have a proper understanding of how somebody who can speak multiple languages brain work. Like, are you constantly translating from one language to the other in your brain, or are you understanding it in the language that you're hearing it in? If that makes any sense.
I know what you mean. At first, right, when I got out of high school, French is natural to me because after 12 years, of learning French, and we weren't allowed to speak Vietnamese inside the school.
Oh,
That's
really?
how it is. So
Okay.
we only have really like 4 hours of Vietnamese language to study. So, but then I was in the service for 4 years, so that kind of, I lose because no practice. So when I went to America, I ended up in Maine, which is great because the Maine people, most their ancestors coming from Canada, so they speak French.
Of
so
course.
that helped.
Okay.
But then by then, I really had to think of French before I translated to American and tried to speak it.
Okay.
So it's kind of really hard for me at first.
Yeah.
But at least I could understand, like reading I can understand a little bit because the spelling is almost the same, between French and English.
So as you were growing up in Saigon, and Saigon being like a French colony, the teachers, you were forced to learn French at school, which, I mean, I guess in retrospect, you must be happy. You must be happy that you're able to be multilingual because of that sort of.
No, not really forced to learn French.
Okay.
There's Vietnamese school that you learn the foreign language for like a few hours a week.
Yep.
But my parents put me in a French school.
Okay.
And strictly French teachers, French culture. So we learn the French geography, history, everything in French, except 4 hours a week learning Vietnamese history and Vietnamese geography. So that's how I learned French. But other people, they just learn Vietnamese.
Okay. So what was it like? How was life in Vietnam under the rule of the French? Was Vietnam strictly kind of ruled by the French, or were you kind of ruled by yourself but considered a French colony? Was there lots of French people here?
Back then, not that many, but we were ruled by the French way back.
Yeah.
But by the time I grew up, I was born and grew up, pretty much we're on our own,
Yeah. Okay.
But it's more influenced by the French custom.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything,
You can definitely see that now in lots of, banh mi, even.
French bread. That's how.
Yeah.
That's how it begins. And the Vietnamese people just took that and tried to, come up with their own.
Like a lot of the architecture looks.
Yeah.
Kind of very much. Not that I've ever been to Paris. I've seen pictures of Paris, but it looks like.
Like the church in Saigon, right?
Yeah, the Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame. That's built, after the one in Paris, the one that just burned recently.
Yeah. Oh God, I imagine that, and what a.
So, like my parents, they all speak French.
Wow.
Yeah, back then,
Okay.
Yeah, because we were influenced by the French.
So, did you speak French at home?
No.
You spoke Vietnamese at home.
I learned French from school.
Was there did you use French in your day-to-day life?
No, only in school.
Okay.
That we weren't allowed to speak Vietnamese.
Wow.
That's because they want us to learn, which is great, because if you learn a language and all you talk about to your friends, Vietnamese, and what good does it do? So
was getting a French education perceived as being
more open-minded?
Being a superior education to what?
I wouldn't say superior. Okay. But you see things.
You get more of a spread of things.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And you learn how to treat a woman better.
Okay.
Yes, from the French. Have you heard the term galant? Galant, like be nice to the woman.
Yeah, no.
That's what I learned first.
Okay. So was were the French schools back then? Were they like we were driving here and I asked you, you were showing me the large schools and I said, are these private schools or government-run schools? The French schools back then, were they government-run schools or were they like a private school?
No, the one I went to is like private.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you consider that the fact that you were able to go to a private school very fortunate? Like, do you consider yourself fortunate?
Yes, yeah. I would consider my family back then is the kind of middle range,
middle class type.
Median, yeah.
Okay.
So I was lucky to have a French education.
Okay.
And that makes me see things a lot more open and others. Yeah.
I watched a clip. I think it was from the early 80s, and there was an American journalist walking around Saigon, and he's like, look at these tape recorders here. Like, as the Vietnamese sort of went to different corners of the world, like who were part of the South, went to different corners of the world, they would send stuff back to Vietnam, and they were talking. This guy was like, "Here's this cassette recorder. It's 10,000 dong. That's a whole year's wages for you." For you, and like this guy had sold a couple of pigs to be able to buy this tape recorder. Well, I mean, you probably don't know because you're in the States. But at what time, what happened to the Vietnamese dong that, like, I mean, 10,000 dong now almost cannot buy you anything.
No.
Like, what happened? Do you know what happened there? Like, what was there some sort of economic thing that took place in the world or in Vietnam that drastically devalued the level of the dong to get it to the point that now we're talking in terms of hundreds of thousands of dong to buy things or even like something that would be the equivalent of the old day tape player. So you wanted to buy an MP3 player or an iPod, you'd be looking at millions of dong now.
Yeah.
That seems like a massive increase in cost. Like,
it is. Tell you the truth, I really don't know because I live. I went to the States when I was 22, turning 23, and now I'm 67.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, but it just depreciates so fast.
Yeah.
Like I told you, 15 years ago, I was here in Vietnam, and $100 exchanged it to 1.5 million dong. Right? Nowadays, it's 2,300,000. So almost $1 million more that I could get from $100.
Look,
so,
the Australian currency is just fluctuates so badly. I'm getting probably a third less the amount of dong this trip than what I did 2 years ago.
So I don't really know what drives that.
Yeah. it's one of those things that normal people don't have any control over. We just have we're a slave to it.
Plus, at my age right now, you know, if I can enjoy my life, you know, every day, that's it. That's enough for me. I don't care. No, you know, I don't care about what's going on in the world. You know, that's how I am now.
As long as what's going on in your life around you.
Yeah, because I went through so much, you know.
Yeah.
Now that, you know, if I can just take a ride on my motorcycle around the countryside, I'm happy. You know, I have a good friend. You know, I live my life now to the fullest.
Yeah. Chris just took me out for one of the nicest steaks that I've ever had, and it came from Australia originally.
Yeah, Australian booty beef.
Yeah, it was extremely nice. It was still sizzling on the plate when it arrived. But yeah, look. How long have we been going for? Let's just have a look. We've nearly been going for half an hour. Look, you've got some kids. You had some kids with an American lady. How many kids have you got?
Yeah, three daughters.
3 daughters?
No, I came to the state of Maine, right? The state of Maine in 75.
Yep.
By 1977, I had my first daughter. You know, by the time we got married, my ex-wife was 4 months pregnant.
Which was fairly unusual for those days.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, so my oldest daughter now is almost 42.
Wow.
This August.
So how many grandkids do you have?
6.
Wow.
Yeah. And my daughters are half and half, right? Half Vietnamese, half American. So my granddaughters are all they have only 1/4 of Vietnamese blood in them.
Yeah.
Because the state of Maine, there's not too many Vietnamese people.
Okay.
So my daughter's married, you know, American.
So when you first got to Maine, did you find like it must have been you must have like hang on, so it was around, did you say July, August that you got?
July I got to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
By September, actually 30th of August, I got sponsored to Maine. Okay. So that's how I moved to Maine. That's when. So
that temperature drop was kind of gradual. You were coming out of the American summer into the winter. It wasn't like stepping off the airplane from the Philippines into like minus 20 degrees.
Yeah, but still, Pennsylvania is still on the East Coast. Yep. It's not too far from Maine. You know? So it was cold, you know, by July, August. It's summertime, but still. And Maine winter really start, you know, like in the fall it's already cold.
Were you initially thinking, how can I live here with it being so cold?
Not just the weather, but you know, but for years, all I knew was, you know, using my fingers to trigger, pulling the trigger. No skill, no language, you know, not used to the weather. I'm gonna die. You know, that's what I thought. How old were you when you joined the service? Sorry. After 18, I turned 18 September 70s, right? So the beginning of 71. That's it. I got.
Okay. So 18 was like the age that you had to join the military.
Yeah. Unless you continue your education, you know, go up to high.
Okay. So you finished school and then straight into.
Because when I was 17, you know, I was so much into the music. Yeah. I didn't want to go to school, man.
Same, man.
Yeah. I just want to be playing in the band, you know.
Yeah, right.
But at the time, you know, like Beatles was well known. CCR, my favorite band.
CCR.
Creedence.
Creedence, okay.
Clearwater.
Look, Creedence are a band for me that I didn't like during the 70s. Well, I mean, I was born in 69, so I was quite young during the 70s. But there was always the music that I would hear on the radio in the car, and it's only probably been in the latter years of my life that.
So do you know what the song "Proud Mary" meant? The meaning of the song?
No, I don't.
No. From what I was told, right? I'm not sure if it's true or not. You know, Mary Jane. You know what that is? That means, right?
Yeah.
So rolling on the river.
Rolling on the river. Okay.
Yeah. Proud Mary. Mary Jane.
Proud Mary, keep on burning.
Yeah. And rolling. That's what it meant, man.
Yeah. Okay. I have to say.
But even John Fogerty, he denies that.
Oh, does he?
But I believed it. You know, listen to the lyrics, yeah.
Well, that's like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. They deny that as well.
Yeah. And then they get braver, you know, with who's that? Sing it right out, Cocaine. What is it?
J. Cale?
No.
John Cale?
No. Jeez, I couldn't think of the name. He's one of. Oh man, shoot, the song Cocaine.
Yes, you don't like. You don't.
Yeah. Man, what is his name?
I think it's J. Cale.
No.
No.
Eric Clapton.
Okay, Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
Okay.
They get braver as the years go by.
So when you, like, that must have been for you something arriving in the States, like, wow, the music, like, oh, wow. Like,
Yeah.
That must have been great.
I remember when I was in the Pacific Bay and then Guam, the song was on the hits radio at the time with Smoke on the Water.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the song.
That song is about, that song's about when they had, I think it was the Monterey Pop Festival or something like that, and Frank Zappa, like there was a fire, and Frank Zappa's band lost all their equipment in this fire, and that supposedly that song "Smoke on the Water" is about that.
I didn't know.
Because we all went down to Monterey or whatever the name is. Yeah, like that's about that. So you must have been really stoked to be like. I mean, obviously you'd heard of rock and roll and like you liked Vietnamese rock and roll, like and you must have known some American rock and roll, because I mean, rock and roll is rock and roll. It was
the Who, Rolling Stones. You know, we all listened to them in Vietnam.
So was the prospect
Billy
of
Joe, you know, piano player.
Was the prospect of being like in America and actually being able to easily get access to this music and listen to this music and go and see the artists if you chose to, was that an exciting prospect for you?
Yeah. But and then after a while, like in the 80s on, you know, I started not liking it anymore. I don't know why.
I think that's just something that happens with age.
Yeah, must be. You know, I still always, you know, listening to the old one, you know, oldies with goodies, those stations I listen to all the time in San Jose.
Yeah.
I live in San Jose, California now, but, you know, oldies with goodies, and then, what else, rock and roll, those, you know, back in the 70s, I love that style of music.
I think as you get older, for me, what's ended up happening is I've found an appreciation in the music that I didn't really like as a younger person, but I hear it now, and it's like the combination of the familiarity of it and also what it sort of evokes in your head from those days. Like, I don't know, like you spend more time exploring that music that you kind of didn't really take that much notice of when you were younger, and rather than like when you're younger you're like looking for new music that you really, really like. I just find that like I find myself looking back at music that I'm familiar with but didn't necessarily like, and a lot of music for me is like the AM band station, in the car, and then I hear now a nice clean audio version coming through my stereo, like a high bit rate MP3 or a CD player, and you can hear it the way that they intended it to be heard. Like, whereas back in those days when you're listening on an AM radio,
right, you
miss out on a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you can't hear. Like for me, a big band like that is Fleetwood Mac, a band that was always there. I always heard,
good band,
but it wasn't until I heard them through a good amplifier, through good speakers, that I went, wow, I get it now. Like,
you know, like talking about AM and FM station. Back then, you know, when I was growing up, Vietnam don't have FM station. We listened to the Americans' FM station, you know, here in Vietnam. You know, so the sound was just kind of cheesy. Yeah,
look, I mean, it's the same. I'm not too sure when Australia embraced FM, but it was probably the early 80s, I would say. But yeah, look, up until then, for me, it was all I ever heard was AM
like
radio.
Even now, Vietnam only has a few FM stations.
Okay, wow.
because not too many people listen to radio anymore.
They
just listen to the traffic, the weather. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, music, they got such much nicer equipments in their car.
Yeah. Look, I mean, in Australia, because we're such a large country, a lot of radio is losing relevance that was once the big,
only medium,
the big
right?
thing. Yeah. I participate in community radio, which is like small scale, low wattage transmission to local areas. So every other station in the small area that I live in, it doesn't have local content.
Right.
It has it's sort of from a large super radio network that covers most of Australia. You know, you can hear in most cities of the country. That more grassroots sort of community-based radio has sort of seemed to have gotten a little bit more of a foothold than what it has in the past.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because a lot of people are looking for to hear something when they listen to the radio. 20 years ago, they would hear local content. Now, because it's all been bought up by it's all been swallowed by large media corporations, they're not hearing that local content. They have to actually look for that. So
they kind of miss that, huh?
Yeah, and they're going back to, like, I mean, my station, we broadcast, we have a 500 watt transmitter, which if you're in Sydney, will cover all of Sydney.
Oh, I see.
But because I'm in a regional centre, it has it still has that like 100 kilometre sort of diameter type thing.
I see.
But there's not very many people within that 100 kilometre diameter. So, yeah, I mean, like a lot of people seem to really enjoy that local content that's been lost, especially in the regional radio. I don't know.
So that's what you gear to, the local audience?
Yeah. My show particularly, I don't just aim it at the local audience because, like, I'm aware of the technology, and we have an internet radio stream as well. So anything I give online about my radio show, I basically I don't mention the number and the bandwidth and all that because it's not relevant to people on the internet. Right. I give them the link where they can hear it on the internet. But
at least it reaches worldwide.
Yeah,
you know?
It's amazing that we have this ability to be able to do this now. I feel lucky to be able to.
Just like 2000, just recently, 19 years, man. One time, right? My other girlfriend went to Vietnam, right?
Yep.
And back then it's really expensive, to call. So I just cost the straight number, right?
Yep.
Cost me over $1,000 that month.
Wow.
Just using the phone. Now it's free.
Yeah. It's great.
Oh,
it must be very hard for them. And when I say them, I'm talking about for governments. Like they must have had so much. It must have been so much easier for them to have control. Back in days where we couldn't really communicate easily with each other, like even from different parts of the world. Like I can remember going on family vacations like 150 kilometres away from Sydney, and the process of making a phone call in a telephone booth to my grandmother in Sydney, it was
enough to drive you crazy.
Yeah,
right?
like the numbers that you had to dial, you had to ask the operator to put you through. Yeah. It would cost you 10 cents for 30 seconds and you're constantly feeding money into the phone.
One of those switchboards for them to plug this cable in.
And the phones would only accept one coin, one sort of coin. So you had to have 20 10-cent pieces, like all the same coin to put in there. It just took so much organisation. It's it's so much better now.
And now look, you can't even find a phone booth.
No, yeah. We still have a few in Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they also make them wireless hotspots. So if you, we had one sort of telecommunications company.
Oh, that's my messenger. That's the sound.
That's the most unique notification.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to have one large telecommunications company that did everything in Australia. They've kind of lost the monopoly in the last 20 years, but they basically owned the infrastructure up to a certain point.
So they still make money.
So yeah, they've reduced the number of their telephone booths drastically. But yeah, each one is like a wireless hotspot now. So if you've got your home internet or your cell phone through their company, you can get a wireless hotspot anywhere near the sort of the occasional phone booth.
Just like cable company in the state, in California especially, Infinity, you can get the hotspot everywhere if you pay for the cable.
Yeah, okay. So do they have cable TV here in Vietnam?
Now they do.
Now they do. Okay.
Back then, no.
Okay.
Oh man. Back then, I remember in 2003, I moved back here for 2 years. I had a internet shop with a renting machine for people to get on the internet.
Oh, like an internet cafe type thing.
Yeah. Okay. And then it was back then the thing was ADSL, not even DSL.
Yeah.
Asynchronous, it's so slow.
Yep.
And through the phone company, but that's what we used then to connect to the internet.
No, it's only been since the beginning of April that in my town we've upgraded from ADSL.
Yeah, but I think Vietnam now is much better than in the States.
Yeah.
As far as the connection in the States is through cable, right? Most of them here, almost everybody is fiber optic.
Yeah.
Much faster.
Yeah.
And here everywhere you go, you got Wi-Fi free.
Yeah.
Not in the States.
Yeah.
Not in California. No.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, they're just in the process of laying out optic fiber throughout Australia, and it's a task.
Yeah.
Like
Vietnam is like a testing ground, for all the high tech latest technology.
Yeah. Well, in Australia they're struggling. Like they're struggling to give it to everybody, like give everybody good speed because some people are so remote.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some places where you're able to get fixed wireless, where it comes from a tower. I was living in a place at one point last year where that's what I was getting it. And it was good. It was much better than the ADSL I was getting like lucky to get 6 Mbps like in my house.
Oh man, I remember when I worked at digital equipment, we used to use the modem, 300 baht modem. Oh man, it was so slow.
Man, I remember when my girlfriend at the time upgraded from a 14.4 modem, a dial-up modem, to a 28.8, and it was like, wow, this is so fast.
That's what the speed.
Oh, now, God, you couldn't do anything.
I know.
You couldn't do
because I work in the computer field before the internet exists. Back then it was ARPANET for the military and then the university.
Yeah.
Digital had the largest private network in the world.
Okay.
So that's what I used back then.
Well, isn't that where the internet started, like with the military?
Xerox. Oh yeah, with the military.
Yeah,
but then internet is designed, the Ethernet, the protocol is designed by Xerox, Digital Equipment Corporation, which I work for.
Yep.
IBM and a few others companies, like 7 companies, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I work on the spec of the Ethernet, man. Yeah.
How did you get into that?
Oh, I started working for digital back in 1978.
Okay.
October 1978. And I started out as just a tester, running diagnostic, testing the board. And then I moved up within the company.
Okay.
12 years I worked for them.
I was talking to a Kenyan American the other day, and he was a young guy. He was late 20s, and it totally skipped him that, like, I'm nearly 50. It's like, yeah, man, like, I was kind of, he's like, I don't understand why are you into this? You're old. It's like, mate, I'm the first generation. Like, one week, me and my friends are all out riding our bikes around the neighborhood and playing in the bush and playing at the park and doing this and doing that. And then, one Christmas came around, and then all of a sudden, half our time we're spending inside playing on one of our friends' Atari, like the original Atari machine.
Nintendo.
And just for my generation, well, for me and my friends, as each one of those things has come out, we're just like, oh yeah, the latest thing. And now you've got kids now that have sort of grown up with their devices.
I remember, Pac-Man. Oh, that was my favorite game, right?
Pac-Man.
When it first came out. So when I worked at Digital, I get access to a workstation, nice graphic and all.
Okay.
I recreate the same game.
Oh, okay.
I wrote it.
Now I remember
Nice.
my dad. It was either my dad came back from a visit to his family in the UK, or his mum came out and bought us a console game that plugged into our television, and it was Pong. It was like where the two sticks go up and down the side.
I
And
think
it's
it's a Bally machine. Bally machine. That's what it's called. Bally.
ball.
Bally.
Ball. Okay.
I think that's the first one before the Atari come out.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
A friend of mine used to write game for that machine. I was in like, I think 4-bit machine. Yeah. 4-bit computer, man.
It's like that sort of computing power is just almost. There is nothing that could be done with that little amount of computing power now.
But then, hey, they land on the moon with an 8-bit machine, digital PDP-8. I used to fix those machines.
Wow. No,
Time flies.
Time flies, and technology is amazing. I wish, like even doing this and doing these podcasts, I wish that I was 25 now and I was doing these, because like by the time I would turn the age that I am now, imagine how much content I would have created over those years. It's like that's the number one thing that I kind of don't like about getting old. It's like like the future is so exciting with
It's
this
never
technology.
too late. It's never too late.
So we're sitting in Chris's apartment at the moment. I got the bus here, and this is this really nice apartment here.
I came to pick you up on a motorcycle.
You came to pick me up on the motorcycle. I'm finally getting used to feeling comfortable on the back of a motorcycle.
At least with the back.
Yeah, but Chris's is the first bike I've ridden here that's got a backrest, so I actually don't need to hold on until my knuckles are white, worrying that I'm going to slip off the back of the bike. But there's a massive motorcycle culture here.
Yes,
like everybody loves their bikes, and there's not very many bikes over 250 cc.
Back in 2003 when I came back here the first time, people only allowed to get one motorcycle under their name. Only can register one because there's so many. You cannot even own two bicycle, two motorcycle, under your name.
Still now?
No, now you
okay.
can. Yeah,
Okay.
now it's better. But back then, you can only one each.
Look, to me, it makes Saigon, I didn't think would be able to function if everybody was driving cars.
Right, they were talking about preventing motorcycle from coming to Saigon. It's never gonna work.
Prevent cars coming in, only allow motorcycles into Saigon. Like that would be the answer. I mean, I don't understand why in Australia we don't have grab bikes. Like it would make so much sense. Like we have got so many taxi cabs, so many Ubers. There's a new one called, I can't remember what it's called. But like we've got all these ride sharing services, but none of them are motorcycle orientated. It would just make sense. It makes sense to me. Like what?
Probably because winter time. What you gonna do? You can't ride bike.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't get that cold.
Like in Maine, right? I own a motorcycle, right?
Yep.
Unless it's snowing out, I always ride my motorcycle.
Okay.
Just with leather jacket,
Yep.
cover up, and then motorcycle is my way of riding. I loved it.
Yeah, my mother was always, "You're not having a motorcycle."
It's dangerous in the States because you're going too fast.
Yeah.
75 miles an hour. That's 120 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's fast, man.
Yeah.
So you gotta have a heavy bike.
Yeah.
The one like I'm riding right now, you would be flying off the highway.
Yeah, right. Oh
Yeah,
God,
it's not
your bike
heavy
to me
enough.
seems like a heavy bike.
It's only 130 kilogram.
Okay.
So it's not much, like 65 pounds.
So how many cc's is it?
150.
Oh,
so
really?
it's a small one, yeah.
God.
Yeah. I used to have a 500, and that is not enough for me. Back in Maine,
But I mean, like here, having a 500cc, like
it's just a waste of
like it's like driving a Ferrari down a dirt road. Like what do you like? It's gonna.
That's why when I see people on their Harley, I just laugh. Fucking stupid.
I have seen some fairly nice customized Hondas. Like what do they call them? Like flat trackers. I think they call them, where they're kind of like
racer.
Yeah, they kind of look like the sort of bikes they used to ride around in a circuit on a dirt track sort of thing.
I like cruiser type.
Like a cruiser, yeah.
That's our age. Cruiser type is,
Oh, look, mate, that backrest was just... you wouldn't get that on a flat tracker.
On a long trip with that one.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
I even just riding around for the day on the scooter on Vung Tau, after about 5 hours, like, my ass was so sore.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine? Thủy and I one time took a trip from here to Nha Trang, non-stop. We just stopped for some coffee and that's it. And that was like, 300 kilometers, more than that. And then the next day, we went up to Dalat, go on over the pass. That was a nice trip, man.
Look, when I was riding around Vung Tau, I don't think we'd established that we weren't going to go on our ride at that point. I think we had just established that we weren't going to go on the tour because your friend was sick. And I was kind of like, oh, thank God. Like my ass was so sore. It was like, how am I going to do 300 kilometers? Like,
well, usually we go on a trip like that, right? Whenever someone decides to stop for coffee or, take a lick, then, we just stop get off the bike for like 15 minutes and just talk. And, some of them smoke cigarettes. Oh, I quit cigarettes 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. I smoked when I was 15, man. That's more than 50 years.
Man, I had my first cigarette when I was very young. I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I didn't smoke regularly until I was about 18 or 19, but stopping smoking cigarettes, I did that in 2013, and it was the best thing that I've done.
Yeah, I stopped 3 years ago, so I'm glad I was able to. I tried many times, 7 times. Finally, this time worked.
I never ever tried because I didn't want to fail, and then after a trip to the States and seeing everybody using these e-cigarettes, it's like, wow, okay, oh wow, I can get them in Australia. Okay, I'll get one, and I tried it, and it helped, and I haven't gone back. I used to hate lighting a cigarette and it being in the back of my head. Oh, this is so bad for me.
E-cigarette could do some damage too,
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, perhaps it can, but all I know is that I physically feel better than what I did when I smoked.
Lung, at least.
I surf in Australia, and I definitely don't get as out of breath paddling my surfboard around. If I fall off and I get held underwater, I don't feel. It doesn't feel as likely that I'm going to drown.
I do run out of breath easy now because I don't exercise that much.
Yeah.
But I used to take martial arts for 20 years.
Wow.
So, I owned a school in the Maine, man, for 4 years.
What sort of martial arts?
Taekwondo. Second degree, man.
Wow.
Yeah. But I stopped back in 2000. So almost 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you stop?
Because, after a while, just like everything, after a while, you get kind of tired.
Yeah, okay.
Because I used to go to tournaments every weekend.
Oh, wow.
All around New England, different states. Even go across the border to Canada to compete.
Wow.
And every weekend. Till once I got so many trophies that I just kind of, man, they don't mean nothing to me anymore. Okay. So that I just stopped.
So is there a Vietnamese martial art?
Oh, yeah. Vo Vietnam. That's the name. Vo Vietnam. It's come from Vo, meaning martial art, Vietnam. So they just added the 3 words. And Vo Vietnam.
What martial art would you compare it?
Basically, I would say Vo Vietnam is a combination of a few other martial arts. That they just kind of almost like Bruce Lee, pick up the best moves from different systems and put together.
Like, well, I mean that's fairly popular these days with like the MMA and the UFC. This sort of combination of these fighting skills.
But to me, martial art, it really depends on how you train.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't matter what system, good or bad.
Yep.
That's how you train. That's count.
Yeah.
So like MMA, you know, you see how they train. That's how, you know, if you go against any traditional martial art, man, they beat the hell out of them.
The MMA guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah.
Because how they train, you're so rough and
Yeah.
tough.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, traditional martial art now it's more like a sports type, you know,
Yeah.
for exercising, basically.
Well, it isn't like most of the sort of traditional martial arts, the whole kind of mindset is not fighting.
Self-discipline.
Not hurting somebody, only doing the absolute minimum that you have to do to achieve what you want to achieve. It's not about power.
Then when you have to, you don't have the power, the strength to do it.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Because you train, you are what you train, how you train. You know. So to me, like when I get involved in that and my kids get involved, most is I want them to have the self-discipline.
Yep.
You know, to have the determination that, hey, I can do it. That's kind of mindset I want them to do. Not really, you know, protecting self-defense. Nowadays, in the state, you know, everyone has gun.
Yeah.
You know, what you do with your bare hands, you know, useless.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's more like that for that reason.
But, you know, like it could be argued that if those people who had guns did martial arts, more people would have self-discipline and less people would use their guns.
Yeah, but I find out for myself, what it made me after 20 years training is the confidence, self-confidence to get out of any situation. Okay. So I don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's the most I get out of it. You know, not winning the fight, you know, but how you kind of, you know the situation and get out of it without getting into trouble.
Do you feel as you're getting older, do you one of my fears of getting older is becoming vulnerable and becoming perceived as an easier target?
Not because I credit that to my training.
Okay.
But even now, I walk on the street. I don't feel afraid or nothing. You know?
So, look, same. Like I'm walking around like District 1. I've got my wallet in one pocket. I've got my phone in my other back pocket. Like ladies are grabbing me and saying, "Take your phone out and put it in your front pocket." Mm-hmm. I really don't feel like an easy target. I really don't feel like someone would try and pick my pocket because I don't look like somebody who they could easily do it to. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe that's just my self-perception and I'm wrong. Yeah. The other night I saw a lady, probably mid-50s, nearly get her, and it was a Vietnamese lady as well, nearly got her bag pinched by a couple of guys riding past on a bike. Yeah. She got it and they sped off, but I don't know.
But I think that you look confident and nobody try to bother you, you know, pretty much. You know, if you kind of, you know, hey, I can handle myself.
I mean, in my head, it's like if anybody tries to fucking take my phone, I'll grab them by the throat.
Yeah, but not if they have a knife or the gun, you know. But just how you act is like kind of like, oh, I don't want to mess around with this guy. Yeah. So that's how their mindset is. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But with the druggie, you know, shit, they would do anything to get your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Look, I mean,
when they have to have a fit, that's it.
Yeah.
They're gonna do anything.
Yeah,
they can kill you. They don't really care.
Yeah, look, I mean, I was speaking to an English guy the other day who did not look like he'd eaten or slept for probably a week. And like he was saying that here in Vietnam, the people don't understand that the ice is actually a really bad drug. Like people understand that heroin it's a pretty heavy drug, but they don't. Okay, this is Stu.